Welcome back to Ski-U-Mah Weekly here on the Gopher Sports Facebook page. I'm Justin Gaard. We're now moving from softball to baseball, and we go from student athletes to the coaching staff, although you guys look young, a lot younger than me. That's unfortunate. Pat Casey and Ty McDevitt are joining me here. Thanks for joining me, guys.
Thank you for having us.
Give us a sense of, because it's cold. I don't know if you guys know this. It's snowing outside. It's been cold. We just had the Super Bowl. Everybody complained about the weather. What's a baseball team doing at this time of the year?
Well, I'll speak from the hitter's perspective right now. We're mostly in here right now, and it's nice having football moved out. So we have this in our training facility that we're involved in mostly right now. We've got to trudge through the snow out there a little bit, so it was tough ducking and dodging the Super Bowl stuff this last week. But yeah, we're mostly staying in here doing some live stuff. We actually hit balls in the open here. We haven't broken any windows yet, but we put some holes in the roof. But this facility gives us a lot to do in here. I mean, we're actually able to do a full infield and outfield, do live balls off the bat, so it's helped us quite a bit from a hitting perspective.
Well, I did want to ask about just having more access to it, right? That was all. I mean, this thing is basically, for people that don't know, it used to be the football building. We now have a new one, and the football team would obviously get first choice, and then it was kind of up to everybody else to figure out the schedule. Ty, is it nice to have a big chunk of that time now available for everybody else? How can you utilize it?
Yeah, just in my time here from being a player and then as a coach, we went from having nothing but, a small piece of this space right here to having the dome pretty much full time where we could do full field practices and throwing whenever we wanted to, and then taking a big significant step back when we lost the dome,
right?
Which was tough. And so then we really lost the footprint that we were working in, and then now with US Bank and the incorporation of this with the football team moving away, I mean, we're back to that happy area where we could pretty much do whatever we want, whenever we want. We can accomplish whatever we need to from a throwing perspective, and then from a live pitching perspective, which is important for both the pitchers and the hitters at this time of year. It's been phenomenal.
The Super Bowl was just held at US Bank Stadium last night, and I remember when it was being built, there was a lot of back and forth about how is it going to be utilized for local baseball clubs, because for years the Gophers have been able to use the Metrodome and everything. But just how important was that for you guys? I mean, Coach Anderson really fought for it, and a lot of other local coaches as well. How important is the US Bank Stadium aspect to what you guys do here in the next couple of months?
I think it's huge. I think it saves baseball up here, not just for us, but all the other local teams in the area, Division II, Division III, junior college. The Metrodome has probably saved baseball in this area, in my estimation, just from the simple fact that it eviscerates our travel costs at this time of the year. It allows us to play multiple games and get those games in. Plus, it allows us to draw quality opponents like UCLA, Arizona, Washington this year.
Right.
And then next year we're out of there because of the Final Four, unfortunately. But then the following year, I believe we start the Big 12 challenge in there. So we're bringing in Oklahoma State, schools like that. So allowing us to get those types of RPI games up here is huge for us. I think it's been monumental.
I mean, from the years, like I said, we didn't have the dome and we're traveling every week, and you get home, I mean, basically Monday morning. It's so late on Sunday night, and you're leaving again on Thursday. The impact that it has on these kids when they're trying to get school accomplished and maintain relationships with other people and do all the things that we talk about being important for student athletes. I mean, during those weeks, it gets to be tough. So having that balance and being able to maintain some at-home play is really important for us.
As coaches, it's nice to sell that facility, but it's also nice to sell the Land O'Lakes Center for Excellence. I'm sure, as you guys have been here from basically shoveling the ground to completion now, what's it been like the last couple of weeks moving into that facility? We're I think, going to be in there next week. I'm apparently going to be cooking something, so good luck.
Nice.
Hope your kids are out of town for that whole segment. But what's that whole process been like? I'm sure you put it in front of a lot of prospective student athletes, and I'm sure your guys are excited to be in there.
Yeah, from a recruiting standpoint, I think it's huge. You go from having the McNamara Center, and they're basically on top of each other, to 2 to 3 floors of, I mean, just pure space and just accommodation for our student athletes. It's just incredible. You throw the nutrition center in there on top of it all, and you've got something that's one of the best facilities in the entire country.
Right.
And from a recruiting standpoint, I don't know how you can top that. I mean, it really puts us on the same playing field when it comes to Ohio State, Michigan, and then you look around at the rest of the country too. I mean, we have a US Bank that kind of supplements that as well. So recruiting standpoint, it's huge. And I think from a student athlete standpoint, Ty will tell you, from just being done with school just a few years ago here, it's huge.
Oh my goodness.
Scale of 1 to 10, how annoyed are you that they didn't build it like 3-4 years ago, and now all these kids get? I mean, it's good for your profession now. You get your kids are taken care of, but come on.
Felt like yesterday I had, I was stopping at CVS to pick up some granola bars, so I had something to eat between practice and studying, and now you can't go anywhere without having a refueling station or shakes or, whatever. So it's all there. There's no excuses anymore, so that's part of it. Our guys love it, and they gush over it every day they come to practice, so it's been good.
I think we've set a record because we've gone like 5 or 6 minutes talking baseball without talking analytics. And in 2018 now, you can't go too far without that entering into the conversation. I know you guys spent some time at the SportCon conference here this last weekend in Eden Prairie. Tell us what you got to talk about and kind of how that whole thing went down, because it seemed like it was a pretty cool opportunity.
Yeah, it was. It's awesome. This is our second year that we've both been invited back, and just getting the opportunity to be with guys from the Twins organization. Derek Falvey was there this last year when we first started it, and people that are really passionate about data and getting involved with data. It's something that he and I are really passionate about, because we have probably the best student managers in the entire country that are involved in a lot of that.
Really?
Headlined by Ryan Gall, our head student manager. He does a phenomenal job. And these guys, they put together our data, they put together our packets of information, and we go through that data and we basically find out what's digestible for the players. But I think what him and I are really passionate about is getting those types of people involved in baseball so they can leave their footprints on the game. And it's about creating jobs. It's about creating their own kind of place in the game of baseball, which I think is really cool. I mean, the old saying used to be, there was no money unless you were on the field.
Right.
And now, that's no longer the case. You see a lot of guys with, we spent an entire day with a guy that had a degree from Harvard, and he's now involved in baseball. It's like, so baseball is opening up these doors for these people that have tremendous amount of knowledge, and they're using it for the betterment of the game. And that's, what we're doing here. We're trying to create a pathway for these guys to get involved in baseball, and it's really cool. They're supplementing it with some of their stuff in class.
Right.
They're using it for, internship building and network building, and I think in the last 3-4 years since we've been doing this, we've put 5 or 6 guys in professional baseball in terms of video coordinators or scouts. It's just, it's been awesome. They're the best they are.
Well, and the cool thing, Ty, is we just had Derek Falvey on our radio show on KFAN earlier this week, and he said since he got here, they basically built a new wing for the front office operations with the Twins, because that's just how many people are needed now, right? And I'm sure you get into a lot of that.
Yeah, Derek was there last year, so we were able to chat a little bit about just some of the marquee differences between what we do and what they do. And as you alluded to earlier, we're young coaches, so we're constantly trying to network ourselves and learn more about the game and some of the applications for this data that is becoming more prevalent. So yeah, the challenge he and I have at a college setting is we don't have that wing, if you will.
Right.
So we've got to learn a lot of it, at least at a surface level by ourselves. We can't necessarily delegate to teams full of Harvard-trained people. We've got to learn at least enough by ourselves that we can take it to our team or to our pitching staff, to our hitters, and be able to really convey something that's meaningful and actionable right away. So
how has it been? John Anderson's coached for 112 years. Right? He's been here forever. He played here. Yeah. And that's always the push and the pull, right? The yin and the yang of, they didn't have this when he played, right? And so how's his reception to the numbers? And I'm sure it's why he wants younger coaches like you to kind of handle all that and let him know how it can help.
Yeah, it's funny. We were talking about it the other day. He actually, so one of the companies we use is called Edge HQ. They're a breakoff from Inside Edge. It does a lot of work with analytics with Major League Baseball. And the guy who is involved with mini analytics, Randy Istry, he actually got together with John in the early 80s, and they were the ones that came up with the idea for Inside Edge. So you can actually trace it back to John coming up with these numbers, and he talks about all the time that he should have taken a cut from it because it's so successful now. But you can, Rob Fornacier, our assistant head coach, he came up with a lot of data this last week for advanced analytics. Well, we use a program called 643 charts, and he put together a lot of that stuff. So I would say it's not just us, it's our entire coaching staff that does a really good job of looking at that information and breaking it down. And John and Rob are both extremely receptive to it. They, very supportive of us, but at the same time, they're involved in it as well.
Well, if it helps you win, right?
Yeah.
I mean, everybody's looking for every edge, and if you're not doing it, somebody else is probably doing it as well, correct?
Yeah, exactly.
So we do have some Facebook questions for the coaches here. Let's start with Stephanie, who wants to know, Pat, we'll start with you on this. Who you think will make maybe the most impact on hitting and fielding? Who are you looking for in terms of someone to make a jump this year, or that's had a really good offseason you're looking forward to seeing play?
Well, I might get in trouble if I answer the wrong one.
It doesn't have to be one or two. I wouldn't go 1 through 9. I mean, that but give me a couple.
Yeah, I would say, in terms of a breakout this year, every year it seems like there's a guy that breaks out on the pitching staff or in our lineup. A couple years ago it was Matt Fiedler, Micah Coffey, Toby Hansen.
Yep.
I think this year, it could be Eddie Estrada. I'm really impressed with what Eddie's been able to do this year, and Eddie's got a ton of talent. I think he's been a guy that can really step up for us and be huge with the bat this year in the middle part of our lineup.
How about with the pitchers?
Well, as you probably learned, we've got 8 freshmen. One of them's a redshirt, but 7 true freshmen. So we're going to need essentially those guys as a group to step up. And I would say, without picking one person, that group in general is going to be the group that needs to step up if we're going to have the kind of season we want to have. So the entire freshman class.
All right. Notices out to the freshmen. Challenges to playing baseball indoors versus outdoors. You get to do a little bit of both here, especially in the early part of the season.
I'd say I'd let Ty take it from a pitching perspective, but from a hitting perspective, playing inside, you don't deal with the elements. There's no dirt, there's no grass. You don't get the bad hops on turf. A lot of the fields in the Big Ten are turf now, so that's similar. But you're not dealing with the elements. The wind, and sometimes playing inside. I think last year, they were ready to get outside after 12, 13 games, something like that. They were just ready to be outside again. So I'd say that baseball is a sport that is meant to be played outside. So I think the more you're inside, they can't wait to get outside. So I think it's mentally more difficult than it is physically from that standpoint, because they want to get outside, they want to experience the natural elements of playing the game, and I think sometimes playing inside can get a little stale.
Yeah. That's anytime you can play outside, it's the best. So U.S. Bank's been great. I mean, no complaints with what they've got going on over there, but if we had to play all of our games there, it'd get kind of stale pretty quick.
I could see that. Well, thanks for joining us, guys. We appreciate it. Thanks for sharing some time, and I'm sure we'll catch up as you return home from all your different road trips and when U.S. Bank Stadium heats up and everything, so we'll catch up with you then.
Thanks for having us.
Appreciate it.
Pat Casey Ty McDevitt from Baseball. We appreciate everybody with the questions. Had some great questions lined up even before the show today, so that is outstanding. A reminder, we'll pick one, and they will be the Minnesota Lottery question of the week. Apparently I'm cooking next week on the show, Ski-U-Mah Weekly. You're not going to want to miss that. Clearly I enjoy food. Ty was talking about missing granola bars. I've never missed one. Anytime I walk by, I hit it. But thanks everybody for watching. We'll talk to you next Monday at noon right here on the Gopher Sports Facebook page.